biblical headship, and I'll just start off briefly by saying that, of course, it's like you were saying, it's one of the most important topics. Should have been forever, but definitely during this day and age, because we see which way society is going. So we need to understand, first and foremost, every man, all men are called to lead. Every man. They're called to lead something. They're called to lead someone, not necessarily. I know we have a lot of entrepreneurial, business-minded people where some people may think everybody's called to be a businessman. Well, that's not necessarily true. But every man is called to be a leader of some sort. Now, if you are married or if you're a father, you automatically are a leader. You automatically are an example. Now, what example are you setting? That's another thing. But all men are called to be leaders. And so with that said, I want to start off with a question today to kind of get our minds thinking. If there was a way that we never could come in contact with American culture, if you never had any contact with American culture, you never had any influence by the culture. That means you never met anybody that told you about it, you never saw anything about it on television, you never were born here, you never knew anything or had any contact whatsoever with American and with this contemporary culture. If that was the case, how differently would you lead? It's a very good, important question to think about. How differently would I lead, never having come into contact with American culture? Never been born in this type of society. Because we all may know, and others may realize it more than some others, that culture is very, very powerful. It's so embedded in us, far greater than we will ever know. And sadly, this culture, the American culture, stands so totally against Scripture, God, the ways of Christ. As we know, this culture says it's about me. It's about my individuality. Be self-sustaining. Me. Obey my thirst. Get what I want. Do what I want. Be what I want. Whatever I feel, act out of that way. The gospel is totally flip opposite. It says, no, don't do you. Don't be you. Move out of your way. Count up the cost. Be a living sacrifice for a cause that is greater than yourself. Amen? So culture is so very powerful. And we haven't even begun to know how much it has influenced how we as men lead or don't lead and think it's okay. We don't know how much culture has notioned to us that it's okay for those who God has mantled to be leaders not to lead. Culture is very, very powerful. So I wanted to start off with that question today to kind of get us going and flowing. And so, but the ministry that will be unleashed here today is really apostolic ministry. And one of the books that we will start off with, 1 Corinthians, was written by the Apostle Paul. Everybody's heard that name before. Wrote over 2/3 of the New Testament. But one of the things about apostolic ministry, it is, of course, it's not really invited in our culture this day and age. One reason being is because not only is it authoritative, but normally when we hear apostolic, we think another position, another title, the name at the end of another church ministry or denomination. But really, when we get down to the gist of what apostolic ministry is here for, what God said it here, it's a foundational ministry. Apostolic, and really what Paul was talking about when we get ready to read from the book, 1 Corinthians. But the reason he wrote that whole letter, that apostolic letter, it was to a people who had started striving spiritually because of the apostolic foundation that he had set, he had left, and then they had started getting away from spiritual things that he had set. So he had to write a letter to them. And in Paul's letters, which was a reactionary letter, he was telling them, look, basically, let's get back to what? The foundation. We have so many cracks in our foundation nowadays. We know if the foundation is off, if it's wrong, if it's weak, the rest of the building is in danger. And so apostolic ministry is a foundational ministry. That's one reason why when we see in Ephesians, those who listed as a fivefold ministry, that's one reason why it's listed first. And then also in another verse of scripture, it says he gave them first apostles and then prophets. And there's a reason for that. It's not that folks go around and some people have no clue about calling themselves apostles, have no clue about the ministry itself. But one of the things you'll find about biblical apostles, Paul was just one. There were many. Some built ministries, all of them didn't. But in studying, one of the things that you can find out that was really the common denominator between apostolic ministry and true apostles was the fact that they all guarded, defended, and reinforced the foundation. So if we could get back the foundation, if we never would have divorced ourselves from biblical, godly foundation, society, and definitely the church will be in the shape that it's in right now. So it's all about the foundation. Amen? Amen. So we'll go ahead on a little further here and talk a little bit. We'll read a little bit from it. But one of the things about apostolic ministry, and one of the things that I often warn is the fact that it's important that whenever you're presented with anything, whether it's someone telling you about yourself or any information about Christ, or any information, whether it be about politics, whatever.
Research.
Research it. But one of the key things we got to do before we research is separate our feelings from the truth. And a lot of times in our day and age, we don't do that. The first thing we do when we're presented with something, we don't take that step. So the first thing we do is we see it through the filter of how we feel about what has been said. Feelings and emotions are not meant to be filters to see content. Now God made them, God created us as being, we do have feelings and emotions, so they're here for a purpose. One of the purposes is they are not meant to be filters, but they are meant to be indicators. To where we can take a personal self-examination and be like, this is where I feel about what was just said, or what was just presented, or what was just said to me. So now I can ask myself, but what is it that makes me feel the way that I do about what was being presented? So when we deal with anything, and one of the things that I do, I like to call it heart training, is we have to understand the importance of disciplining our hearts. The more and more that I see, more and more that I talk to people, be it leaders, non-leaders, Christians, non-Christians, one of the things that I'm starting to discern more now is their heart first. Because if you can determine a man's heart, some things will be a waste of time even sharing with him. Because if you don't want to see it, you won't. Even if all the evidence is there. The Bible says our hearts are what? Deceitfully wicked. And so your heart has a way of making you feel that you're right when you could be deceived. So it's always good in anything, especially when it comes to apostolic ministry, to guard your heart. I may not like what was said, but I cannot let the fact that I like it or not, let me first ask myself, is it the truth? And if I don't know right offhand if it's the truth, like my brother said, let me research to find out if it's true. Amen? Amen. And so I just want to remind you today as we go on and get into what we're going to get into, but dealing with biblical headship, because of course this is not an American message, but it is a kingdom message. It's not a new age notion, but it is a biblical scriptural notion that we should have never left. And so I just wanted to make sure that just to kind of lay some groundwork before we get into it. I want us to do that today. But here's one of the things, when we look at biblical headship, godly headship, first we understand God is sovereign. So he was the one who actually set up everything as far as headship. And so here that we're talking about biblical headship, one of the things that of course go hand in hand, that is really what we're trying to determine is what is biblical order. What is the order that all sovereign God said? And because he's sovereign and he said it, it is the right way. And there shouldn't be a question about it. And one of the things about we as Americans, we are kind of foreign to this concept, to the notion of sovereignty. One reason why is because we live in quote unquote a democracy. Democracy is about what the people want. We get to choose our leaders, quote unquote. We get to choose what we want, choose who rule us and all this kind of, things. But a kingdom is totally the opposite. It's not about what the people want. It's what the king wants without question. And the people just follow. You don't get to vote on your leader. You don't get to vote on how you feel if that's right or wrong. The king determines what's right or wrong. He wants us to yield to it and abide by it. Amen? And so therefore that concept is kind of foreign because we as Americans, culture have told us, do what you feel, do what you want. And if you don't like it, you have a right to make an excuse why you don't want to abide by them. And that's one of the things, as we in America, that's why we would definitely kick apostolic ministry to the curb, because it's one of those foundation ministries like, oh, you want to get off, let's bring you back over here to where we should be. Amen? So, when we look at creation, one of the things that we find out is that if ever you want to be reminded, or if you ever want to find out God's biblical order on headship and leadership, go back and look at the order of creation. The order of creation lets us know about God-ordained leadership and order. Now, if you ever want to determine who God puts in charge over who he sees as head over who he sees as the boss over who, you look at creation going forward. If you ever want to know who is subject to who should submit to who is the glory of who, you look at creation going backwards. And it will show you all of those things. So what we want to do, we want to take a look at the order of creation in the Bible over in 1 Corinthians, like we mentioned. Those of y'all that have y'all Bibles, y'all can go right over there, and we'll take a look at it and see. And I'm coming from 1 Corinthians, the 11th chapter. And we're going to start right there in the first verse. First Corinthians, the 11th chapter. And those of y'all, I'll be reading from the ESV version just to let you know, so they read a little differently. But starting at verse 1, it says, "Be ye imitators of me as I am of Christ. Now I commend you because you remember me in everything and maintain the traditions, even as I delivered them to you. But I want you to understand that the head of every man is who? Christ. Christ is the head of man. The head of a wife is her husband." Now notice, one of the differences. Christ is the head of every man, but every man is the head of every woman. Her husband is her head. Amen? And then as we continue, and then it says, "And the head of Christ is God." And then if we jump down, if we continue, it says, "Every man who prays and prophesies." The context of this chapter is talking about head coverings, of course, but though it's talking about head coverings here, synonymous, it lets you know that still, this order is something that God had always put in place for everybody. This isn't supposed to be changed, because of time or what have you. But if we keep reading, going down to 7, it says, let me make sure that I have it right. Yeah, from 7 through 9. "For a man ought not to cover his head, since he is the image and glory of God." Now what we do is we did it going forward. Now let's reverse it. So it talks about who is the glory of who. Man ought not to cover his head because man is the glory of God. So woman is the glory of who? Man. For man was not made for woman, but woman for man. Neither was man created for woman, but woman for man. This is why a wife ought to have a symbol of authority over her head. Amen to the reading of his word. Now, when we look at that, it's definitely not an American notion to say God made man for himself. So, if he made man for himself, man should yield to God. Now, he made woman because man had a need. Our society tells us we just cursed. Oh, you just became real chauvinistic with that one. No, he made woman because man had a need. This is why woman is what? The glory of man, the majesty revealed of man. We don't hear that often now anymore. We've actually flipped it over. We say happy wife, happy life. We say man is here for the woman nowadays. We'll talk about maybe why that is and why, you know, that's gotten off later, but that's what we need to understand, because once we understand the order of creation, it tells us who has authority, who has jurisdiction over who. And there's a reason why God did this. God wanted to, he just wasn't up in heaven putting out a bunch of rules and restrictions and doing this because he felt like it. He is the manufacturer of human and all humanity. So he knows what's the best way for us. And so we preach and teach like this, not because we're trying to make people angry, not trying to make all of America upset. We're doing this because we know God is smart enough to understand what makes us tick the best way. It's because we don't want to be dysfunctional, even though statistically 90% of families are dysfunctional. So is it a wonder why? See, because there's consequences when you don't want to do it God's way. Now, it's your choice, but there's consequences for not doing it. The King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Now, and when we understand, when we really realize this, what this is not a man versus woman thing. One of the things that the enemy, because he's all about warfare, he's very strategic. And one of the things is, he knows that if he can get man to compete against woman and woman to compete against man, then they'll spend less time complimenting one another. God made us different for a reason. And we are to compliment one another. But the enemy knows I come up with a feminist movement because it was man's fault. So I come up with a feminist movement. And when I come up with this feminist movement, woman shall rise against man, and man shall rise against woman. So now when you hear stuff like this, it's like, oh, well, he's this and he's that. No, we're Bible here, and we understand the importance of the woman. And if we don't, we need to find out real quick. And I don't know about you, gentlemen. I am very, very glad that God created women. Can I get a witness? How many in here are glad God created women? Amen? Now let me take it a step further. How many in here are glad God created your woman?
Yes.
Hallelujah. Jesus. And let me take it a step further. Does your actions show, the last past couple of weeks or the last past couple of months, that you appreciate God for your woman? Does your action show, if we just saw what you did towards her with no audio, with no lip service, could we tell by the way you live your life as a husband that you're really appreciative to God that he made her for your life? A lot of husbands need to ask themselves that question. Amen. Amen. Very, very important question. So this is not a man versus woman thing. This is a biblical order thing, because if we do it right, everybody gets what they need. Everybody gets what they need. And so when we go on in further, this is one of the things that we realize about society, because society is the way it is because men have neglected their God-given mantle. The reason why we're in disarray, when you look at, we're here in Durham, right? Ranked in the nation in gang-related activity. It's real heavy here. It's not safe in some areas. They made documentaries about Durham. I'm in Greensboro, like, yeah, Durham is right down the street. I can't believe that. In the whole country, Durham is right. Gang-related activities, divorce, premarital sex, mental health being on the rise. All because you can tie it back down to man getting out of his proper place. Because God leaves us ultimately responsible. We can go back to Adam and Eve and see that. God steps in and starts asking questions right after Adam messed up. Because if man stay in order, it's a lot harder for things to be out of order. Because it really ain't out of order until the one who he sets jurisdiction, he gave jurisdiction, and he gave the authoritative manner. It ain't really out of order until the authority gets out of order. Because authority is there to keep things in order. Amen? And so when we look at this, it's all about order, it's all about the proper family and different things of that nature. But when we look at it, society don't even give permission nowadays for the man to lead and be what he's supposed to. Don't even give us permission. It says, matter of fact, it says you shouldn't. The world we live in says you shouldn't. But, and so is it not strange, because going back to men as a whole, generically speaking, we have failed women. We have failed society. And so it is our fault now that we're receiving the backlash and our manhood is under attack. Partly our fault. Because we got out of our proper place and now we want people to see us in our proper place. And so we actually created things like the feminist movement. Thing like, let's say the woman can do whatever the man can do. So we're in competition with one another. Why? Unsubmitted women. We had a hand in that. Because one of the reasons why women are unsubmitted nowadays and don't want to be, and submission now is a curse word to women. You want to know why? Biggest reason, because they saw what their submission has gotten their mother and their grandmother. Submission got their mother beaten. Submission got their grandmother taken advantage of. And so they said, we've seen what our submission gotten us in the past. We don't want to go that route anymore. So because submission has gotten us there, now what we want to, now let's give us fuel to overcorrect. And I speak about overcorrection from time to time because all of us to a certain degree, without even realizing, we overcorrect. Insecurities bring a lot of overcorrection. See, here's the thing about the devil. He don't care what side of the road you're off on, just as long as you off, as long as you're not on the in between the lines. And so what has happened is that women now has overcorrected because of the past abuse. Now when you say submission, first thing that pops up in their mind is pictures of past abuse. Because guess what? They have been abused. They have been mistreated. They have been undervalued. And all they know is I'll do whatever it takes, even if that means ruling out submission, to make sure that I don't ever go through what either I went through in the past, my mother went through, or my grandmother went through, or any all the older women went through. Overcorrection. So we played a hand in that because we didn't value our God precious gifts in the beginning. And so this caused a domino effect on some things. But this is why now we got to get things back in order. Because it's in disorder. And we want to make sure just because it's prevalent, we don't want to pat it on the back. But this is what America is doing now. Society now is patting dysfunction on the back because it's prevalent. Oh, it must be all right because everybody's doing it. So now men can't stand even if they wanted to. You've handed your mantle over and now you got to beg to get it back. So now you're auctioning it off. I buy your house, I buy your car. Just let me be the man again. I'll give you this money, I'll do this, I'll wash the dishes, I'll do whatever it takes. Just let me be the man again. Jesus. But the problem was, we should have never given up our God-given mantle in the first place. Because God called men to lead. Amen. Amen. And even when we look down there, even a little further, we understand that, you know, when we look back at the order of creation, even if you take it a little further, God made man for himself. He made the woman for man. You know, children came what? Not after woman. They came after the union between the woman and the man. Right. So children are the glory of the joining of man and woman. Not out of wedlock. Amen. Together. The union. That's why we make sure we word that right. Because you think anybody can have a baby, a man and a woman can have a baby. Right. But not born in the promise. The promise of a union covenant is what the kids should be the glory of. And isn't it amazing that in our society nowadays they try to flip everything? I don't know if you just heard about the news about what happened in Canada, but they just passed a bill, according to articles, that now they're passing a bill that says that if you as a parent don't agree with and support your child's gender identity, they can take your child from your custody.
Wow.
Sad but true. But look at how the world flips the order of God. If you ever want to smack someone in the face who brings order, act like you have a better way than the order they set. And that's what we're doing to God. We said, God, we know what your order is, but that's too old-fashioned. That don't work anymore. We have come up with a better way. So you know how, so now instead of children being subject to the parents, society is making parents subject to the kids. Think about it. Look at our school systems over the last couple of years. More rights have been given to the children than those in authority over the kids. Cause chaos. You ask anybody who works in the school system, they'll tell you. Even now in the homes, they are trying to give kids more authority over the parents. See, they reversed the whole order. The world want to give the kids authority over the parents. They want to give the wife authority over the man. They want to give man authority over God. Society always want to do, they want to flip the order of God. They want to flip the order of the one who is all sovereign. But he put his order here for a reason, because that's what, he is the one who created us all. Therefore, he knows what's best for us. Amen? Amen. Does that make sense so far? Yes. We as men have got to step up. We have got to step up. We may not can change the whole world. I'll be the first to say, whether it's right or wrong, I don't really believe. I believe we're too far gone as a society to where the whole world won't change. But I will say, I still do believe we can change those who we come in contact with. It can start with us. We may not can change the whole world, but we can change our families. And then if we change the families, if we change this, our households and our families, they can impact the communities, they can impact our neighbors. And then you never know how far that can go. But we have to start at home. Amen? Men have got to step up, even in a world that society says we shouldn't step up. So society is making it hard for men to be men, and we are attacked on every side now. Our masculinity is under a mass attack. See, we look at, think it not strange. See, we just looked at it as cute. When they first started, you know, when I was coming up, and I'm not that old, but just a few years ago, when they first started lacing, we thought it's just fashion. When they first started lacing male sneakers with female colors. You look at male sneakers today, female sneakers back then, you can't tell the difference. We say it's just fashion. Here's the thing. A lot of times we get caught up in, is it sin or not? But there's ways and habitats that sin can live in. And they're not, whether it's right or wrong, get you in hell or indifferent, it just might be fashion. But here's the thing that it affects us in society. We know, we come up in an era that says that was feminine and wasn't masculine. But now they changed what was feminine to us to being masculine. And that's what makes it have a negative effect on our manhood. Think it not strange that now men pants are tighter than the women's pants. And we call it fashion. Will Smith's son now models women clothes.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that. Wow.
Why? A society society hates the man. Jezebel can't have her reign if men are in place. That's why she wanted to hear the prophets. We live in a Jezebelian world, and they're trying to do whatever it takes to attack men and make them weak and make them effeminate. And it starts with these little subtle things. Think it not strange that now some of the worldly dances that they do are feminine dances. Men, I saw rappers, I don't even know a lot of the rappers' names now. I don't know anybody who's Little This or whoever that. But I seen a picture, I'm just looking at a Coca-Cola. Now their rappers are wearing high heel shoes.
Oh, come on, man.
Their rappers have like beads, you know, like the little beads that you used to have in the little girls' heads?
Yeah.
Pink beads in his head. And we just think that's just funny and fashion. That's just, no, that's an attack on masculinity. Because the first thing you do is change the image that's set before you in the media, and then you'll change. But we think, oh, it's just laugh, it's just funny. It ain't gonna get us into hell. God still loves us, so it must not be too much wrong with it. Our masculinity is on attack. Our manhood, we have to fight for it, being men in this day and age. And therefore, but here's the thing, if you're gonna fight to be a man in this day and age, guess what you cannot fear? Rejection from society. Because society will reject you, not only out there, but in your own home. A lot of our houses don't even give us permission to be men. You would catch flack from the in-laws, and maybe even from your own extended family, if you take the role that you should take over your house. If you take biblical authority that you should take over your house. If you call the shots, no, this ain't what we're gonna do, we're gonna go over here and do that. Well, who are you? She grown just like you are. And here's the thing we gotta understand. And this is what I say if I was speaking to women, and I say this time before. Never marry a man that you think would abuse his God-given authority over you. Never marry anybody like that. If it's in question, stay away from the altar. There are men out there who abuse their God-given authority over women. But authority itself just don't mean abuse. Authority doesn't mean an abuse, but authority can be abused. Amen? But if you think all men would abuse their God-given authority over you, please stay single for the rest of your life. Because there are still a few good men out there who just want to lead. And here's the good thing about leading. Your wife will follow you. And she would be, it's easier for a woman to be submitted to you if she knows, if you have thoroughly convinced her, you have her best interest in mind. Honey, I call the shots. So I got to call. Sometimes I call the shots, make my wife upset, make her mad. She don't even understand it. But if you ask her, there's been time when I've called heavy shots. Well, we ain't gonna have a baby right now. We're gonna wait a couple of years. Oh, everybody, you know, church folk prophesying, we prophesying pregnancy and this and that. We ain't gonna have a baby right now. And we hadn't had a baby, and we got started late. But I knew our house was not ready for a child. Now guess what happened? When it come time to have a baby, she looks at me and says, honey, I'm so glad that we waited before we had this child. Because now I know, looking back, if we had a child then, it wouldn't have been good. Men have to get over the fear of rejection from society. Because guess what? Maybe her in-laws, maybe even my extended family. You ain't got the right to tell a woman when she get pregnant. Well, for one, it takes two to get pregnant. Yeah. But different things like this. But here's the thing. One thing I thank God for my wife, she's looked at my track record. And she's seen that here's the thing about men. When we call the shots and they go bad, let's assume responsibility for them. But here's one thing that I'll say. Never let someone else call your shots if you're going to be judged for the shots. So guess who's going to be judged by how we run our house? We are, not our wives. Right. We are going to be judged by how we run our families. Does that make sense? That's right. So therefore, we need to run on it. America don't like that. You say that too loud, they're going to label you something else, or you hate women. Another good thing that makes me stand up and preach this type of stuff, flat-footed, is for the simple fact of how I treat the women that's in my life. I have a daughter, 3 years old. I have a wife. We've been married, just celebrated 10 years. I have a mother. Ask any one of them on your spare time, even when I ain't there. By the way that he treats you, does he give off any implications that he don't like women? Or does he honor, does he respect you? Does he do whatever he can to make sure he takes care of you? Because now they can't label you if they see what you do. Well, maybe he really is trying to bring order. And maybe he is really not trying to destroy women and elevate men and take us back to the cave yard days. Amen? And that's what we as men have to do in our house. We have to exemplify that which we say. Make sense?
Amen.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. So now when we go and look at it, men are fought on every side. From society, outside our homes, we're fought at it within our homes. And get this, one of the worst places that we are fought is in church. The place that's supposed to get us back to our proper place. See, here's the thing that society don't understand, that maybe even our houses and our families don't understand, but the church should understand. Men, we have messed up. We've messed up big time, as a whole. But when a man mess up, you don't replace him. Because see, that's what society says. Man messed up, let's replace him with woman. But here's the thing, when man mess up, you don't replace him, you restore him to his proper place. This is why women are anointed to encourage their husbands. We know, men that's been married, we know the whole world could be against you. If you come home to that woman and she look at you in your face and say, baby, you can do it, you feel like you got the strength of 10 men. Because women are anointed to encourage, they're anointed to support. And you know, stuff don't really start breaking down in your life. Work can go bad. School can go bad. Your friends can stop talking to you. Church can go bad. You can still kind of manage that as long as that woman at home is still with you. Because women are anointed to support. They have a power to support. And I've said this before. What would marriages look like today? My great man of God, pastor of my life, God rest his soul, Pastor Otis Lockett, he taught me the fact that women marry for support. Women marry for security, men marry for support. And I took it a step further. I said, so what would marriages look like if every man secured his support and every woman supported her security? It would make a difference. Divorce wouldn't be as high as it is in the church. But again, masculinity is fought on every side. Manhood is fought on every side. And it's sad that now it is in the church. The place where we should be getting restored and redeemed. Now, in two major ways, not the only ways, but two major ways, now fights manhood. Because man is messed up, guess what the church now does? Become feminized. See, let's go back to the order of creation. Because guess what was created before the church? The family. So guess what should lead the church? An exemplified family structure. This is why when we study the New Testament, Timothy and Titus, and we go back and look at leadership qualifications, it's a whole lot in there about how you run your home. And yeah, wives can lead, but the Bible tells them how they can lead. You lead other women and you encourage them to love their husbands and take care of their homes. That is in the Bible that we say we read. But what has happened to the church, because men is messed up and are messing up, they feminize the church. So then we have women bishops, women apostles, women pastors. We have women in leadership. But here's the thing. If God is, because see, here's one thing we don't understand about ministry. It wasn't God's first choice. Ministry is redemptive. It is a redemptive concept. God placed ministry here because we dropped the ball at the house. Ask yourself the question, how much ministry would we need if the ball was never dropped at home? This is why we title each other. This is why Jesus says, I'm the first among many what? Brethren. Why? This is why we call each other brothers and sisters in the faith. This is why we have a heavenly Father. I'm not talking about your father in the gospel. We have a heavenly Father. Why? All of those titles goes right back to the home. Because church is the place that, because when we drop the ball in the house, church is the place to show us how to get the ball back in the house. But what has happened in ministry, ministry now takes away from the house instead of add to it. So now ministry replaces the man. Now we got wives being more loyal to the church than to their husbands. We let ministry get in the way of family. Now we got husbands running around breaking their neck to open the door for the first lady, pastor's wife, and they ain't opened the door for their lady in months, in years. Ministry has gotten in the way of family. You see what? What example are we setting? God has set ministry to be an example. First, those who lead by how healthy your family life is. And encourage those who come to your ministry to do the same. But here's what I say. You don't duplicate what you say. You duplicate what you display, what you show. So now it's no coincidence why in the church today we have some of the best people who can preach with terrible households. Because that's what the church has shown. As long as you can perform right, we're going to put you up in leadership. House jacked up, yeah, we're going to sweep that under the rug. But you can preach real good, you can sing real good, we're going to put you up in leadership. We've let church get in the way of family. Guess what was here before government? Family. So government can't tell you what family should and shouldn't be. It can't legislate what family should and shouldn't be. Literally, a couple of hours ago, earlier today, I was sitting with a judge, a Greensboro judge, and he told me this. He said out of his own mouth, he said, I don't even, because of my experience, I'm not even for sure, I don't even think we in a judicial system should be judging and giving authority to people over people's families. And I said, you're exactly right, because of the order of creation. But we on our last leg, our last resort, somebody got to do it. And so we leave that to the government because the churches didn't do it. We're not holding our own people accountable to our family life. So we said, be all you can be, even if you be nothing in the home. That makes sense? Two major hits that the church have in men, we're almost finished, is the feminization of church. Because it's, when church became more feminized, see, feminization was just a gateway. Because if you allow the same portal that feminization of the church come through is the same portal that now the homosexual agenda gets in through the church. So if you let the feminists in, now you also have to let homosexuality in. And isn't it amazing that the church is split on homosexuality? That's clear, something that's clear in the Bible. Now we're ordaining people and we're ordaining homosexuals and putting them up in leadership. We don't even know what to do with them. And here's one of the things that I'm saying. I'm saying we should be more able and equipped to deal with the sin and show people how they can be redeemed in Christ, because they're not too far gone. They need to be loved on and ministered to as well. But we don't need to invite their mess in. Just like you wouldn't invite a drunkard's mess in. Just like you wouldn't invite someone bound by drugs while they're in their mess, you wouldn't invite them in. You see what I'm saying? But it was a gateway. It was a gateway. But here's the thing about the church. When you stop being a good example, people cling on to bad examples. And that is what happened. And so now we're not encouraged in any good examples anymore because of what has happened. And so when we actually look at that, that's one of the major things that has happened. Because here's one thing we have to realize about the church. If the church is supposed to encourage and be a good example, those who are leaders are supposed to be a good example of family life, to encourage others to go back and be good family people throughout our community, why would God change the order in the church and make it different from the order that he set in the house? He didn't. God did not change his family order and make it a different order when it comes to the church. He didn't switch it. So if he wanted man to lead in the house, America don't like this, the world don't like this. People scared to say this. But it's the Bible. And it can be backed by scripture. If you wanted man to lead at home, because of the example that he set, because men give identity to the kids, because men dispense identity and also give them their value and their worth, not only the boys but the girls too. Women show the women the girls how they function in their identity, but men give them identity. This is what God established for the home. So why would he change that and just make it something different in the church if the church is supposed to add to the home? That's chaos. That's confusion. And that's what we have. And that's what we have seen. That's what we have and that's what we see. Now, last thing that the church does, it spiritually castrates the man. The church spiritually castrates the man. And I'm going to go on some scriptures that you probably haven't heard preached too much now before we close and get out of here. The first one being 1 Peter 5, 2 and 3. Feed the flock of God, which is among you, taking the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not for filthy lucre, but a ready mind. Get what 3 says. Neither as being lords over God's heritage, but be an example to the flock. One of the things that has happened in church, people have started lording over God's heritage. We've got too puffed up in leadership. We've got too puffed up in our denominational structure. And so we think there's no way you can lead men unless you first lord over them. But the Bible says here, I don't want you to lord over God's heritage. I want you to lead by being what? An example to the flock. Amen? Another verse real quick. We'll go to it's another verse in Matthew chapter 20. And we'll jump down to 25, verse 27.
What was that again, Matthew?
Matthew's 20, yes sir, 25 through 27. But Jesus called them to himself and said, you know that the rulers of the Gentiles have absolute power and lord it over them, and their great men exercise authority over them. It is not this way among you, but whoever wishes to become great among you shall do what? Be your servant. Whoever wishes to be first among you shall be your slave. Now, this is foreign. You don't hear this preached much. Why? Because if you look at church today, who gets served the most? Leadership. They get their purses, pocketbooks, briefcases towed in, and all this kind of thing. But we say, oh, they're serving me because they give me an hour-long sermon once a week. Hour-long sermon once a week. Look at it and ask yourself, who seems to be served the most? And listen, when I speak like this, I'm talking from a general standpoint. There are some great Christian leaders who, my goodness, they are underappreciated. They are underpaid. And they really have a heart and a mind for God. So when we speak like this, we're not talking about every single person. We're not talking about everybody, but there is a lot of somebodies. Amen. And so we need to be leery of this thing. And so lastly, what we want to do is I want to bring your attention, the last scripture that we're talking about is to Revelations chapter 2, 2 through 6. I know your works, your toil, and your patient endurance, and how you cannot bear with those who are evil, but have tested those who call themselves apostles and are not, and found them to be false. I know you are enduring patiently and bearing up my name's sake, and you have not grown weary. But I have this against you, that you have abandoned the love that you had at first. Remember, therefore, from where you have fallen, repent and do the works you did at first. If not, I will come to you and remove your lampstand from its place, unless you repent. But look, even in the midst of all that, this is what verse 6 says. Yet this you have. He basically saying, but you have this, even though you're kind of messing up a little bit because you left your first love, you have this one thing going for you. Verse 6. You hate the works of the Nicolaitans, that which I also hate. Now in studying, you don't see a lot of biblical references. I think there's 2 in all the scripture about the Nicolaitans. A lot of people don't even know, most people haven't even heard that term before. But one of the things that their names indicate, and some studies says that it comes from because they was followers of Nicholas, who was one of their first elders. And so, and therefore this first elder, one of his things was, though he was an elder in the church, he really had a heart because he had a background in Catholicism. And in some studies, some research studies say that this elder had a cause to mix the church, to infuse the church with two things, Catholicism and secularism. Now that's for another day. And again, that's some research, but that ain't the reason why I'm pointing this out. Their name indicates a certain thing. Nicolaitan. When you break down that word, Nico means to conquer. Latin, where we get the root word laity from, means people. So when you put the term together, Nicolaitan means conquerors of the people. But when you look at that, you understand that he says one of the things you have going for you is you hate the people who conquer other people. We have gotten this thing mixed up in the church where we think, and we find it hard to lead people without ruling over people. And my message to the church is this, especially when it comes to men, because see, like the Bible says, what we read earlier, if you just study the context, when we come to 1 Corinthians, it says, a man doesn't need a symbol of authority over his head, because I am his authority. But when we talk about this whole spiritual covering and spiritual daddy stuff, all it is a way of manipulation men. Because here's the thing about Jezebel, that when you study Jezebel, she employed men too. A lot of times when we hear Jezebel, we think, oh, it's just out of order women. Jezebel employed men to help her weaken men. Yes. And so I caution any preacher and any leader, if you're in the business of weakening the men in your ministry to make you feel more the man, you are an agent of Jezebel. What we have to do, we have to honor our men. We have to restore them to their proper place. And that don't mean you have to lord over, you don't have to smother them. Men are not designed to be smothered. They are designed to be led and encouraged to a point where they can be men. But sadly, you have to ask your denomination permission, can you be a man? We have spiritually castrated men in the church. We have smothered them. Now here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying be submitted to authority. I'm talking about biblical headship. But one of the things we must realize, there's a fine line in between worshiping and being submitted to proper leadership. And we don't understand, all leadership is here is to get you connected to the man. That's why Paul says, I'm glad I didn't baptize some of y'all, because then y'all talk about y'all following me. I'm only here to be connected to get y'all to God. Look at Christ. Christ didn't live to always forever smother the disciples. He came, he called them just to develop them and send them. What does the church do? We smother you and we say, if you're not a preacher, we ain't gonna send you. We don't need to send a lot of preachers because we can get a financial benefit by keeping you here and smothered. You'll pay your tithes, you'll pay your office, you'll do what we tell you to do. As long as we keep you here and keep you smothered. But what we have to do is lead man without conquering man. And that's my message to the church. Because men catch it on every side. In society, inside their own homes, but they should never catch it within the church. But the reason why 30% of the church is only made up of men and 70% of the church is made up of women. This is why we preach the way we do. This is why we're scared to really preach biblical submission and true biblical headship. Why? Because it don't fit the mold. And if I make the women mad, 70% of my offerings may leave me. But who are the people that says, let God be true, and every man be a liar? And my voice to leadership, whenever I ever have any opportunities to, because with the Kingdom Alliance Ministry, we're just not a church, we also have an apostolic foundation where we actually give support to leaders. We can come in, we can consult with ministers to help make a transition apostolic and different things of that nature because we need biblical engagement. And one thing why this is a wonderful vision is because there is no place where men can talk. Men bottle stuff up and think that's a sign of masculinity, and it's not. Old folks, see, and that's one thing about the old folks and the young folks. Old folks think that these young people are so bad. They did the same thing. Nothing. Sin hasn't increased as far as the types of sin. Same thing these young folk doing now. Old folk did back then. Only difference is, old folks have a pride behind their sin now. They have a, yeah, I did it, so what? Old folks swept their stuff under the rug. You didn't hear about it. They took secrets to the grave. Sad thing about it, at least they knew it was shameful. Now we don't even have a shame for sin. We have a pride behind it. And now we need to watch out, because when we study the Bible, we see what happened. 2 nations who started standing in the pride of their wrongdoing.